Hey guys, I'm Sarah, and I'm going to be reading Smokey and His Animal Friends. Smokey the Bear was worried. It was his job to guard the forest against fire, and it was also his job to look after all the animals and birds of the forest, and now one of the animals had disappeared. The rabbits were the first to tell him about it, then the birds, then the squirrels, and the chipmunks and all the small creatures of the forest told him. A terrible thing had happened. That morning, a little fawn named Fern had been out for a walk with her mother, and suddenly a dog had come barking after them, and the mother deer had hidden Fern behind a log. Then she had to let the dog chase her to the far side of the woods. She had done this on purpose to keep her fawn safe from harm. But by the time she got back to the log, Fern had disappeared. The mother deer showed Smokey where she had hidden Fern. Smokey examined the ground. He saw a few tiny hoof marks, but they suddenly stopped. Smokey was worried. The forest was full of danger for a baby fawn. There were big, hungry animals, like the mountain lion, and even worse, there might be a forest fire, from which all the animals would have to flee. He'd have to find Fern somehow before it was too late. Smokey called the birds together. "Search the forest from the sky," he told them, "then report to me." The birds flew away. Smokey gathered around him the rabbits and the squirrels and the chipmunks and all the small creatures of the woods. "Look under every bush and in every hollow of the forest," he told them, "then report to me." The rabbits and the squirrels and the chipmunks and the fox and the porcupines and the raccoons, all the small creatures of the woods scampered away. After a while, the birds came back. They had seen no sign of the fawn. The rabbits and the squirrels and all the small creatures of the woods returned. They had found no trace of Fern. Then Willie the porcupine came waddling up. He hadn't seen Fern, but he'd seen something else. He'd seen Snarler, the mountain lion, in the hills in the back of the woods. Smokey was very worried when he heard this. Snarler was always hungry. "I'm going to talk to Snarler," Smokey said. The animals and the birds told Smokey not to go, but Smokey went anyway. He climbed right up to the mountain lion's den. "Tell me, Snarler, have you seen Fern the fawn?" Smokey asked. Snarler didn't answer. He only gave a bad-tempered growl and told Smokey to go away. "I don't think Snarler harmed Fern," Smokey said to the animals and the birds when he got back. "He's much too thin and cross to have eaten for some time. Where could that fawn have gone?" Just then, from a way off, Smokey heard a dog barking. "That sounds like Spot, the farm dog," said Smokey. Smokey jumped up from the stump where he had been sitting. It must have been Spot who had chased the mother deer. "Why didn't I think of that before?" Smokey said. "I'll go to the farm and question Spot. Perhaps he might know why the fawn disappeared." Smokey set off through the woods. When he reached the farm, Smokey saw Spot bounding across the barnyard. He was following the farmer's children, Roy and Sue, into the barn. Smokey walked over to the barn. Inside, he heard Sue's voice. "Here's your bottle, baby. Now drink all of it." Smokey peeked through the doorway, and he was surprised, for Sue was feeding the bottle not to a baby, but to a fawn, and it was Fern. Smokey stepped into the barn. "Don't be afraid," he said. "I think you know me." "Why, you're Smokey the Bear," Roy said. "I've seen your pictures on posters." "What are you doing here, Smokey?" Sue asked. "We're always careful with our campfires, and Daddy's careful too when he's burning things around the farm." "I know, Sue," said Smokey. "I was looking for that fawn. We found her in the woods. Her mother must have left her to die, so we brought her home," Roy said. "The doe didn't leave her fawn to die," Smokey said. "It was her way of keeping the young ones safe from your dog. Now I must take Fern back to her mother and her home in the woods." "But the fawn's our pet," Sue said. "We'll feed her and look after her. She'll be happy here." Smokey shook his head. "That's a mistake many people make," he said. "Wild animals aren't happy with humans. They belong in the woods. That's their home. Ask any forest ranger or game warden, and they'll tell you the same thing. Now come along. We'll all take Fern back." Roy and Sue didn't want to give up their pet, but they went with Smokey and Fern into the cool green woods, and when the twins saw the fawn run to her mother, and when they heard the big welcome from the animals and the birds, Roy and Sue knew that Smokey had been right. The forest is a fawn's real home, and for an animal, or a bird, or a boy, or a girl, home is the best place in the world to be.